Well, welcome to Beyond the Arc. This episode, we are talking NBA Finals. So right now, currently, the Lakers are 2 games to 1, and Miami has that 1. So if everything stays the way, hopefully should, Lakers win in 5, like I predicted before the series started, and it would be 5, 5, 5, and 5, all 5s. I'm good with that, obviously, because that would get us a championship. But that's kind of currently where we are. Miami has a little bit of life. We'll talk about how they are currently in the situation and how Miami feels, because Miami, they have some dogs on their team, and we'll go from there. We'll start with you, Alex. What are you thinking? What are you seeing in the NBA Finals? Anything you're worried about being a Lakers fan?
No, not really worried about anything. It kind of went down the way I thought it would in game 3. Obviously, Butler had an amazing game, fill up the stat sheet, played defense, and his personality rubbed off on his teammates, I think. Especially, if I remember correctly, it was the play where he rose towards the end of the game. It was still close, but I think Miami was pulling away, and he drives to the basket, and Rondo was picking him up. And, Rondo was doing good. He was playing good defense. He was manning him up. Hero makes the shot, and he gets an and one. And as he's leaving stepping away from the basket, they did a close-up of his face, and he had that little, like, like that little, whatever you want to call it.
A little girth face.
There you go, girth. There you go. But see, that's the type of personality that Jimmy Butler brings, right? Like, that's what he does. And I even saw is it Haslam that plays for the Miami Heat?
Udonis Haslem.
Udonis Haslem, correct. He also does that. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's why I picked the Heat to win one game, because of the fact that I knew some of that was going to rub off on the other players. And that's good enough to win you one game, I think. Like you think, within 5 games, I'm pretty much saying 5. Now, the next 2 games are not going to be easy. I see Miami putting up a great fight. I see Miami maybe having that next game maybe coming down to the wire where, somebody on the Lakers team hits a game-winning shot, or Miami takes the last shot to win the game, but they end up losing. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So at this point, it's going as I thought it was going to go. And, obviously AD has to step up. LeBron has to step up big time. And the bench has to keep it up, because they've been playing good. The bench has been playing good, except for, obviously, it was junkyard time, of course. But I think that the bench did an okay job the last game.
Yeah. What about you, Coach?
I think it's going to be a 5-game series. I don't see Miami playing like this the rest of the series. Jimmy Butler had an unbelievable Kobe-like game. He just, everything he threw up went in, and everybody got on his back, and they rode him to victory. But I think the key to me was Anthony Davis getting some really bad fouls early in the game. And the third foul, it was not even an offensive foul, and what they should have done is they should have reviewed it. A lot of people thought it was too early to do that, but I thought that was critical, because he gave him 3 fouls, and he got an early 4th foul, and he just never could get in rhythm. And then when he wasn't there, he was just settling for jump shots. So big guys, they need to touch the ball early. They need to get involved early, and the best way to do that is get them in the post and then work that side in. But, I just thought that was significant. It wasn't just Butler. Miami was shooting well, and then the Lakers were in foul trouble, and they just never get over the hump. And, I think that kind of shows you who the most valuable player in this series is. I mean, without Anthony Davis being in there, it was just a Laker team. LeBron did all he could. He didn't get any help from any of the other guys. They shot miserably. And then Danny Green, they're saying that it's just a tight hip. But, boy, in 1 year, he's changed from a really good defensive player to matador defense. It just seems like anytime he takes Jimmy Butler, he's taking him to the hole. And that's one thing that we don't have right now. Anybody that can slow Jimmy Butler down, except for the fourth quarter, LeBron would take him. But I think he kind of tired LeBron out. You could see he's carrying the load. Plus, he had to take Butler there in the fourth quarter. But that's what I saw. I don't see the same thing happening tomorrow night. I think Lakers will make some adjustments. It seemed like the zone gave them a little bit more trouble, and they settled for threes. I think they shot more threes than twos, which isn't the Lakers. And,
Right.
the funny part about the Lakers is they could look like the worst shooting team in NBA history in one game, and then they could look like the best the next game. They're so inconsistent. So if they, shoot marvelly better, and Anthony doesn't get in, Anthony Davis doesn't get in foul trouble, I think that, it'll, like Alex said, it's going to be a tight game. They're going to be dogfights, but I think it'll be an 8 or 9-point game at the end there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Morris had a really good game. I think he had like 20-something points. So Morris stepped up. He was hitting some threes. I know I was texting you guys during the game, but this is how I see it. The Lakers played probably the worst game that they played this whole run. They played just so bad, and the refs were missing calls left and right, and the Lakers were still in it almost at any time. They were able to go on a run. They just weren't able to go over the top. They were able to catch up every single time, except for at the very end. And I think a lot that has a lot to do with Anthony Davis not being able to get into any kind of rhythm. I think he only had like 15 points or 14 points. He had something like very minimal compared to his averaging like 28 to 32 points. Because if he had a 28 to 32 night, the Lakers probably win the game, even playing as bad as they did. So I'm not worried whatsoever. It literally took probably the best game of all time finals-wise. That was probably the best game of all time finals-wise by any player in NBA history that's not a Hall of Famer or not a, maybe top 25, top 30 player of all time. Because I can't think of another player that was – because no one thinks – what is Jimmy Butler? We'll on the next video, we're going to talk about, top players in the NBA. But Jimmy Butler's not probably top 10 in anyone's categories. I mean, he's probably closer to 15, maybe 20. We'll get into that. But it's like he's not a top 10 player. He's not a Kevin Durant. He's not a Stephen Curry. He's not LeBron James. He's not Anthony Davis. He's not Giannis. He was able to shut up Giannis, but he had an amazing game. He pulled out an inner Jordan and won that game. And I can't imagine them pulling out more, maybe one, if they could squeeze out maybe one, and it'd probably be Lakers next game, Miami, then Lakers, worst case scenario. I would be surprised if it went past. A 6 would be a little surprising, but with as much heart as they have, it wouldn't super surprise me. But I think the Lakers, they gotta finish this next 2 games and just end it. I think the last game would be on Friday if they have one tomorrow on Tuesday and then Friday.
Right. You guys have pretty much been focusing on the Lakers, and just for to make it a little more interesting, I've been trying to talk more about the Miami Heat, even though I'm not a fan of them. But one of the things that is going to be interesting to see is Eric Spoelstra might have a little bit of situation because I believe Adebayo might be coming back for the next game.
Not back.
But Kelly, I think he's a center, right? For the Heat.
Center right now.
Right. He's been playing good.
Yeah, he has been playing well for him.
He's been playing, and when you put him in, like they said during the game the other day, you can't play Howard because matchups.
Sure.
I'm surprised that they didn't play McGee more because I think he would match up better.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe Coach Vogel will, obviously do that. But again, here comes the coaching game, and obviously Coach can probably speak more to that than me and you, Kev. But what do? Do you play Adebayo even though you won with Kelly? do you, and if you do that, I mean, how does that change the lineup between, both teams? But I mean, I still feel that like you guys, the Lakers will take it. It's just it's gonna be a dogfight, definitely.
I'd be surprised if we blow them out. I think we'd probably blow them out. We got to blow them out one of these next games, but it'd be surprising if we win the next 2 games with little to no effort.
Right.
I think, game 2, we literally were. I don't think we weren't even trying, and we just steamrolled them. And we not so much steamrolled them, but we didn't try, and yet we were winning comfortably around 10 almost the whole game. And even when they got it to like 2 or 3, it was still, they just felt comfortable, like, okay, all right, I guess it's time to go on a run. And they went on a quick run, and then they were up 10 again. So we'll end it here with one thing, and each of us will get one thing to say. If you were the Lakers, what's the one thing that you would do moving on? Like, if you're Frank Vogel, what's the one change that you would tweak? And we'll let Coach go first. What would you tweak going into this game, Coach?
Well, Alex actually kind of highlighted a little bit. I would play McGee a little bit with Kelly Olynyk and make him guard him outside the three-point lane. Kelly Olynyk's a pretty good shooter, and if you get on him and make him a driver, I think that'll affect his game. He's the kind of guy that when he's hot, he could shoot you in a game, or when he's cold, he'll shoot you out. And sure. I've seen him be super cold. He's playing really effectively, and I don't know why they didn't play him in game 1. Kind of had to play him in game 2 once Bam got hurt. But, same thing with Nunn. I'm really surprised that they got him out of the rotation because they weren't that deep. And, those two are just keeping these guys in the series, besides obviously Butler. But I would play McGee a little bit more, and I would really watch out and maybe even play another guard. I'm just not happy with Danny Green's performance. I don't know if it's injury prone or having injury, due to injury, but he's just not being effective. He's not shooting well. He can't defend. I don't know if they play J.R. Smith more and I don't want to see that. Oof. But they may have to rotate some guards in there because I'm just not happy with what Danny Green's giving them.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? What's the one move you do?
Well, I would if I was coach, I would tell LeBron, hey, you got to get AD going, and you got to get him in the flow. As he goes, we go. Because if AD doesn't get going or he doesn't get in the flow, well, LeBron, you're gonna have to pick up the load, and we're also gonna ask you to play defense on Jimmy Butler because he's gonna come at you no matter what. Because that's just his game, right? There was a little bit of smack talking there at the end. So I don't know how you guys felt about LeBron leaving the court the way that he did, but I'm sure that's just going to add more fuel to the fire for the Miami Heat. So if I was coach, I'll tell LeBron, you got to get AD going. And obviously, if as a coach, you would talk to AD and be like, hey, you got to have a better game. You got to get in there on the boards. You got to, I don't remember how many shot attempts he took towards the end of the game, but I don't think it was much. I mean, obviously he had some shots that he took, but I mean, he has to touch the ball a lot, and the one to get him going would be obviously LeBron. So yeah, my thing is AD, got to get him going early from beginning to end, from beginning to end, because he's still young. So I don't want to hear that I'm tired talk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Davis had 9 shots. He was 6 from 9, so he was good on his actual percentage.
Right.
He was 50% 3-point shooting, but he only shot 2 threes. But he's shooting really good three-point wise, because I think he's around 50% or plus, or even higher. Right. He doesn't shoot that many, but when he does, he usually nails it. The one thing I do is, I definitely change up the starting lineup. And Coach, Vogel. He doesn't seem like he's scared to do it. He already did it with McGee. He took them both out and just played small. So he's not afraid to change the lineup. Obviously, LeBron's going to be in there. Obviously, Davis is going to be in there. And then from there, pretty much anyone else is interchangeable. I kind of feel, those are their two big name players. I think that, let's see, currently their starting lineup is, let's see, they have James Davis, Caldwell Pope, which has been playing great. So I would actually just keep that going with them. They have Dwight Howard. I would keep that. And Danny Green, realistically, is the only person I would change. And I know Coach isn't, Coach Fabella, he's not big on this because he's a hater on Kuzma because of his bad play. But I'm still a really big believer in Kyle Kuzma. He's one of my favorite players to watch, at least as of last year. It doesn't seem to really mesh that great currently. I think it's more in the spurts that he's playing in. I don't think he's just best suited in that situation. As far as I could see when I watched them play, it looks like Kuzma plays a lot with Davis, and I don't think that would be the greatest matchup for him to play. He plays best. He does play really good with LeBron James on the court, or LeBron James not on the court, but no Anthony Davis, because he just doesn't play well with Anthony Davis on the court because they play more or less the same position. Anthony Davis is just obviously bigger, stronger, and better. But I wouldn't mind trying to actually go ahead and play Kuzma starting the game more as a 3. And then you have Dwight Howard and LeBron. Dwight Howard at the center, Davis at the 4, Kuzma at the 3. Then you have LeBron at the 1 and Pope at the 2. Honestly, because he can't be worse than Danny Green, and that's honestly the way I'm seeing it. And I think if we change our expectations of Danny Green to he needs to be able to hit almost every single shot, because I think that's probably the biggest issue with Laker fans is they're watching these games and they're like, Danny Green's wide open. How come he missed the shot? Like, he's supposed to be this guy. Let's eliminate that thought. If Kyle Kuzma, I felt this way when I was a player. I went from always starting and always playing, and I was the main player, to then I was on the bench, and it's hard to get in a rhythm. And then as soon as you don't get in that rhythm, he has more of that, but sometimes you just get taken out of the game because you're not making anything. And then you just had a bad game because you never really had a chance to really get in that rhythm. I think Kyle Kuzma is one of those players that is a rhythm person. He's very much immature because he gets in those battles. He'll get it with it when Hero's on the floor because they're battling with, they have his ex-girlfriend's Hero's, current girlfriend. It's a whole thing. And he had it with Porter. They were trying to go back and forth. So he's immature that way, and LeBron has to just put his arm around him. But honestly, that's what I would change. I think Danny Green, I think if we lower our expectations and he's more on the bench, if he gives us 9 points on the bench, I think everyone will go, oh, shit, he went 3 for 5, 3 for 6, 3-point shooting off the bench. That looks a lot better, with a couple free throws here and there. And then it's like, oh, okay, he played a lot better. But when you only have like 8 points as a starter and your defense is suspect, that makes it really difficult. So that's going to end this part of the video. Part 2 coming up next, and part 2 will be NBA's top 25.